Today, Nally Elementary would like to recognize all of our November Leaders of the Month. We are so proud of these students and their outstanding leadership in the classroom, playground, lunchroom, and they are always displaying the 7 habits here at Nally School. Today, I will recognize each student in each grade level and tell you a little something about them. Okay, we're going to start off in kindergarten. Our first student is in Mrs. Parton's class and is Lydia Coyle. Lydia is kind to everyone. She always has a smile on her face and loves to help others. She is a great role model and follows directions the first time given. Good job, Lydia. Also in Mrs. Parton's class, we have Barrett Howard. Barrett is proactive. Mrs. Parton said, "Wow, Barrett is everyone's cheerleader. She is always proud of her friends and compliments their hard work. She lights up our room with her happy and kind heart." In Mrs. Rankin's room, we have Gavin Porco. Gavin synergizes. Gavin is always willing to help out anywhere needed. If it is sharing, working with a challenging student, or being a messenger, he is there to step up and synergize. Also in Mrs. Rankin's room, we have Evelyn Parvin, who puts first things first. Evelyn is being a great leader in room 103. She is putting first things first and getting her work done in a timely manner. Mrs. Rankin said, "I am so proud of her progress she has made this year." Good job, Evelyn. In Mrs. Craig's room, we have Ollie Kemp. Ollie is proactive and puts first things first. Ollie is our quiet observer. He comes in silently and leaves silently. He is an old soul and leads his peers by example. Our classroom sure needed his quiet control. Thank you, Ollie. Also in Mrs. Craig's room, we have Michaela Post. Michaela is proactive, begins with the end in mind, and puts first things first. Michaela's face beams when she gets an answer correct or if her ideas are put into motion. She works hard each day and knows what is expected. Way to go, Michaela. And in Mrs. Zukowski's room, we have Warren KENLEY. Warren is proactive. Warren has been proactive by independently doing his cubby captain job. Every day, Warren checks to make sure no one forgets anything in their cubbies. Warren's responsible nature makes our classroom a better place. Also, we have Alexandra Noble. Alexandra is a model student. She always chooses kindness, has great work ethic, and is a good friend to all. Keep up the great work. You are truly a leader, Alexandra. Okay, moving on to first grade. Our first student is in Mrs. Beard's class. It is Arissa Demrosky, who puts first things first.
Arissa puts first things first by working hard at school and home. She has a wonderful attitude, always does her best and practices at home and takes time on her classwork. It's all done with a smile. I am so proud of you, Arissa. Keep it up the hard work.
Okay, also in Mrs. Beard's class, we have Parker McAleese, who puts first things first.
Parker has done a great job this year making sure he always does his best. I can always count on Parker to be a leader by coming into class and getting started right away. He works hard to make sure things are done right. Way to go, Parker. In Mrs. Bowser's class, we have EMMY CALVERT, who begins with the end in mind.
EMMY is working hard to improve her reading fluency. She uses strategies to decode unknown words. Well done, EMMY. We also have Maxim Mahalovic, who begins with the end in mind.
Maxim sets goals for himself and is working hard to improve his math fluency. He is already on his level D time test. Way to go, Maxim. In Mrs. Feeser's class, we have Noah Backer, who puts first things first.
All right, Noah is always doing top quality work, and he knows that his learning comes first. Way to go, Noah. We also have
Brooklyn RECTOR,
who is proactive.
Okay.
Brooklyn is a role model student who helps lead others in a hardworking, humble way. Way to go, Brooklyn. Also, we have Lincoln Moser in Mrs. Rector's room, and Lincoln displays all 7 habits. Lincoln is a leader in room 105. He comes to school ready to learn and has a positive attitude. Mrs. Rector said, "I'm so proud of your hard work." We also have Andy Moore, who demonstrates all habits. Mrs. Rector said, "Andy is the first person in our class to retire 4 clips. Way to be a leader, Andy." In second grade, in Mrs. Grandin's class, we have Taryn Swain, who is proactive and puts first things first.
Taryn has been a superstar second grader. He tries hard to get others on track by being a positive example. I really appreciate his proactive choices and participation.
Way to participate, Taryn. We also have Lincoln Cottrell in Mrs. Grandin's class, who puts first things first and synergizes.
Lincoln is such a wonderful leader in our room. He synergizes with everyone because of his kindness to all.
Thank you, Lincoln. Okay, in Mrs. Slimak's class, we have Jayla Shiflett, who is proactive.
JAYDA has become a responsible second grader student. She is working hard, and her excellent grades are a reflection of her extra effort.
We also have Morgan Jansen, who seeks first to understand.
Morgan has a kind and caring heart. She is quick to offer a helping hand to any of her classmates.
All right, great job, Morgan and Jayla.
In Mrs. Trueck's class, we have Finn Huggins, who puts first things first.
Okay, Finn spends his time on things that are most important. Mrs. Trueck said he sets his priorities and he follows his plan. Finn is a very responsible, organized, and self-disciplined student. Keep up the good work, Finn. We also have Kelsey Eschball. Kelsey synergizes. Kelsey often synergizes with others and creates solutions that work for everyone. She is a very positive student and is always smiling. Keep shining, Kelsey. We're very proud of you. Also, we have Connor Elliott, who's in Mrs. Van Dorsten's room. Connor demonstrates all 7 habits. Connor is such a great leader and a great example to follow in our classroom. He follows all of the 7 habits consistently, and Mrs. Van Dorsten said I couldn't be more proud of him. We also have KINLEY GARRISON, who is proactive. Mrs. V said, I love how KINLEY comes into class with a smile on her face and ready to learn. She also is accountable for her behavior and always has a positive attitude. Great job, KINLEY. Okay, moving on to 3rd grade. Our first student is being recognized by Mrs. Melville, and that is Liam Chula, who is proactive. Liam demonstrates being proactive when he practices his spelling words to prepare for his test. He has a positive attitude towards learning, and he wants to do his very best. We are so happy to have him in Mrs. Melville's reading room. Also in 3rd grade, we have Emerson Boyd in Mrs. Braley's class, who thinks win-win and seeks to understand. Emerson has been working hard on listening first and understanding others when there is a disagreement. She has been kind, and one day when a friend spilled water and everyone left for specials, she stayed back and cleaned up the spill. She said, I don't want anyone to fall and get hurt. Mrs. Braley said, I am so proud of Emerson and her kind heart. Way to go, Emerson. Also in Mrs. Braley's class, we have Camelia Spagnardi. Camelia is proactive. Camelia is so helpful, kind, and such a hard worker. She works hard every day, even if the task is difficult for her. Her perseverance and positive attitude will take her far in life. Way to go, Camelia. Also, we have Raylan Glass in Mrs. Esterly's room, who seeks first to understand. Raylan has a heart that listens to others first. She asks many questions before offering advice to others. With a heart of gold, Raylan is an awesome role model. Also in Mrs. Esterly's room, we have Miles Paraso, who is proactive. Miles is our quiet leader in the class. He comes to school ready to learn every day. The kids look up to him and try to follow his example. Thank you, Miles, for setting a good example for our classroom.
In Mr. Staub's class, we have JAYDA, who puts first things first.
All right, Jade is a very meticulous, careful worker. She does whatever it takes to get the job done. She doesn't rush just to get it done. She is a very thoughtful worker, checking to make sure her answers make sense.
We also have JAYDA Green, who begins with the end in mind.
Okay, JAYDA does very neat work. She is very careful to make it legible and neat the first time. Mr. Straub said, I love to see her pictures and artwork. Way to go, JAYDA and Jade.
In Mrs. Stassinus's class, we have Brooke ADAMSON, who thinks win-win and sharpens the saw.
All right, Brooke is a happy light in our room. She is kind to everyone, works hard every day, and is the first one to volunteer when help is needed. Thank you, Brooke, for your beautiful smile each day. Also in Mrs. Stassinus's class, we have
Cole Neugebauer.
All right.
Who begins with the end in mind and puts first things first.
All right, Cole Neugebauer is an amazing role model to the rest of his classmates, showing good listening by reading and following directions every single day. He works so hard on his classwork and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you, Cole, for loving a challenge.
In Mrs. Melville's class, we have LACI Howard, who synergizes.
LACI works well in small group reading. She loves to learn and always tries her very best. Mrs. Melville is happy to have her in the reading room. LACI has gained 23 words per minute in her oral reading fluency by doing extra reading on the weekends. Great job, LACI. Okay, also from Mrs. Gardner and Mrs. Hansel, we also have LACI Howard. LACI got 2 awards this month. Mrs. Gardner and Mrs. Hansel said she seeks first to understand. LACI is working hard in 4th grade. She really tries to be a friend to others and does not let small things upset her. She seeks first to understand others. Wow, LACI, way to go. We also have
Olivia Thomas.
Okay, Olivia Thomas thinks win-win. Olivia has such a caring heart. She has a great attitude about school and truly cares about her grades. She often puts others first before herself. You will often see Olivia helping younger students here at Nolly. Keep that up, Olivia.
In Mrs. Toth's class, we have Kaya Devricks, who is proactive.
Kaya is proactive, especially in spelling. She works hard on spelling words and even on the challenge list almost every single week. What a dedicated worker. Also in Mrs. Toth's class, we have
Novak Zuza.
All right, Novak always puts first things first. He is such a respectful and hardworking 4th grader. Great job, Novak. In Mrs. Matson's room, we have Olivia ELLIOT. Olivia works well with others and is a great partner while doing group assignments. She is a kind, true leader. Good job, Olivia. In Mrs. Oakes' room, we have Owen Soltist, who
synergizes.
Owen is such a good leader. He is always doing the right thing at the right time, and he gets along well with everyone. He works really well in groups, and he can solve problems. Mrs. Oakes said we are lucky to have him in room 118. We also have Hope Fink in Mrs. Oakes' room. Hope
begins with the end in mind.
Hope plans ahead and sets goals for herself. She looks for ways to make a difference and to be a good citizen. She is a great role model for 4th graders.
Way to go, 4th grade leaders.
I'd like to give a big thank you to Eli Chrislip, who's in 1st grade, and also to Calvin Kemp in 3rd grade, who were my speaker helpers today for this video. Congratulations to all of the Nolly Leaders of the Month. The entire staff here at Nolly is so proud of you. Please keep up the great work and your outstanding leadership. Way to go!